Peaceful prayer march on gender-based violence on Friday in Thohoyandou, where over 2,000 community members, including students, traditional leaders, civil society and religious groups, took part. The event formed part of a broader government initiative to create safe space for women and children to raise awareness through open dialogue on gender-based violence. Let's speak now to the Deputy Police Minister, Dr. Boshielo. DM, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. As much as we appreciate the Imbizos, they create a safe space to create awareness, robust dialogue, engagement for communities to raise issues that they deal with in tackling gender-based violence, their frustrations with police, with government, and so on and so forth. What actually comes out of these gatherings? I'll tell you why. In 2018, we had a national conversation. The president was there. Out of that particular conversation, in 2020, I think, we would have launched the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence. 5 years later, where we are sitting now, that piece of document still has not been signed, with all its pillars and everything that is in it. It was revealed in Parliament just last week that that has still not been signed. So I asked the question, what's the point of these gatherings if we are not going to do what we say we are going to do?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. There's a difference between a document and a difference between what the action that must be taken when there is a need. Like in this case, let's be specific about dealing with gender-based violence and femicide issue versus the document that is not signed. As you know, the president have declared 90 days of GBV as a pandemic. And out of that, he then requested each and every one of us, we are in the security cluster, to come out with ways on how we are going to deal with this matter. One of the issues that we started is to talk directly to the traditional leaders, like we did yesterday when we went to Thobela Mpapudi, before we can even start, to say, as chiefs, we need you to assist us to be able to deal with the issue of the sketch. Then we spoke to the church leaders from all sectors, even the Rastafarians, and everybody was involved, Mapostola, normal churches, all of them leaders, to say, what action can we take, because these things are happening also in our churches. And we had volunteers and the NGOs that are dealing with gender-based violence to say, here, these are the actions that should be done immediately, and then what we should do together. And then we signed a pledge, all of us, and say from now onwards, this is how we are going to deal with the issue or in terms of the gender-based violence. So there is a difference between what is not signed and how we are dealing with GBV as a department. I'll talk for the Department of Police.
But I mean, there are those in the National Assembly in particular who have a feeling that these are symptoms. The fact that that document is not signed are symptoms of a governance failure, a national failure that is reflected in the numbers that we have seen, for example, on rape, gender-based violence, domestic violence in Limpopo in particular, rising at least in the last 12 months. To say, even though you're saying, yes, it's not signed, but there are, for example, bills that have been signed, there's a committee that the president has appointed. These things in themselves are not yielding the necessary results.
Yeah, but remember, let's talk about the rapes, the murder, and the crime are not committed because there's no police. Let's get things right. Like when we went to engage the traditional leaders, Butobela, Mpapudi, he said to us, the problem is that there is a lot of youth in his villages which are not working. And when he want to talk to them about the issue of the gender-based violence and all other things, they say to him, we want jobs. If you don't give us jobs, don't come and talk to us about any other thing. You must only come here and talk about jobs. Then we'll have something to do and deal with this matter. So when you go to the churches also, they will tell you another issue to say, yes, we have churches that are supposed to rehabilitate or even be protecting their churchgoers, but then you have other churches that are not doing what they are supposed to do. Somebody raised the issue of the omotoso, but also to say in the churches, they agreed at last that they also use some laws which they are not supposed to do to oppress women and also children.
DM, stay with me. Don't go away. I want to take a quick break. I want to come back and I want to pick up on that point. The Deputy Minister of Police there, Dr. Boshielo. The Newsfeed PM continues shortly. All right, back still with the Deputy Minister of Police, Dr. Boshielo, recently holding an Imbizo there in Thohoyandou, in particular, having seen the latest crime statistics showing a rise, particularly in gender-based violence and domestic violence in that province. Deputy Minister, I want to come back to you. The fact that young people are saying, well, don't talk to us unless you're talking jobs, or the fact that the churches are unhappy with how the Omotoso matter would have been handled, does not, of course, negate the police from carrying out their responsibility of the third pillar, which is protection, safety, and justice. And one of the areas that need to be improved, for example, is to create safe spaces for victims. One of the members of the Democratic Alliance saying, even up until today, we are looking at police stations where there are no rape kits, no victim-friendly rooms, but you're saying, well, we are doing our bit.
Yes, it's just that we are talking, you're just talking to somebody that maybe does not have inside information. We have 1,163 police stations, the whole country. And I went 3 weeks ago to 3 stations in Mpumalanga, Siyabusa, Kwaggafontein, and Tweefontein. And I found that they have these friendly victim rooms. But where there are no friendly victims, because of the budget, you know there's a problem of the budget that will never be enough. They make a space like an office where they then put a bed and some toys and all other things just to make it to be friendly, so that they can be able to they can be able to talk to the victim. Yes, we agree. We have problem of infrastructure, but we are trying in all our stations, 1,163. If we don't have a proper one, then create a one in one office or the other to protect them and also to make them to feel comfortable.
Yeah. As your department, you can sit there today and vouch for example, a rapid response from the police to gender-based violence incidents.
You know, the thing that's why we want to involve the community is that, let me tell you about the case that I found at Kwaggafontein. In Kwaggafontein, I found a 20-year-old in the friendly victim room who was waiting for the FCIS to take her to the hospital, but also to give her counseling. So because we were women, me and the station commander there, we went and then started speaking to her. She is 20 years. And then we asked her, what happened? When were you raped? And why didn't you immediately report it? He said, 1, I was from a tavern at 4 o'clock. And we know that in terms of the licenses of most taverns, they should be closing at 2 o'clock. And she was walking alone. And where they were going to be some field at 4 o'clock. And then he said somebody pulled her and then raped her. But she did not report immediately. She went home and she continued to sleep with his boyfriend for a month. And then thereafter, he then realized that she is pregnant. Then she came to report and said to us, because then after we give you counseling and then ask you, what do you want to do? He said, no, I want termination because where I am, I did not tell my boyfriend about the rape. I want to do termination because I'm not sure who the father is. So it's just different cases with different matters. Others will tell you that it is my father who slept with me. It is my brother who slept with me. It is my uncle who slept with me. And then when you go to the family to take statement to ask, the mothers or the sisters of those brothers and then the wives are the first one to defend their partners, to say, no, Namunaka will never do that, you know, and those are the issues that we want social workers, that's why we have partnered with them to be able to assist us more.
So who's held accountable for that? Because one of the pillars, pillar one, is about accountability. So everyone who's supposed to play a role in a particular sector must be held accountable as we are mid-term in implementing the strategy if these things are still happening and no one is taking responsibility.
It's not a question of no one taking a responsibility. Remember, as police, if you have not opened a case, what do we investigate? If there is no statement, what do we investigate? So it's not a question of not getting anybody accountable.
Yeah.
Yes, we get people accountable. If they want to come and say, yes, I've been raped, then we do what we're supposed to do. We give you pre-counseling, and then you are checked at the hospital, and then thereafter you have 3 more counseling until we are satisfied that you are able to move on. So it's not a question of not taking account or because remember the issue of GBV takes place in a private place at home. So if say you have beaten your wife, and then I see the blue eyes and try to ask who have beaten you, most of you will tell, no, I fell off the stairs. And you can see this is not from the stairs. So who do you hold accountable? The stairs. So we need to come.
In a sense, then you're saying there could be a failure in the coordination efforts across the entities because, right, you're talking about building social cohesion, something that needs to happen in the community. There are underlying social issues within communities. That aspect of it has not thoroughly been dealt with.
Not necessarily. It's just that, remember, we are a new society. The society is evolving. It's now 2025. We had a meeting with the Department of Education last week as the Ministry of Police, where we raised a concern about, for sure, you know, the situation where a 15-year-old raped a 7-year-old in a school,
yes.
in the toilets.
Yes.
And then there was also another who was killed. And we said to the Department of Education, we have what we call a safer school program. As the police, we also have adopt a school. Every police station must be able to adopt a school where from time to time they'll go and search them for drugs and for also teach them in terms of our awareness, GBV and what should be able to be done. So we just need everybody to be able to do that. So we said to the minister, because he was with the deputy minister, I was with the minister also, and DM Matal. We said, Minister, we need to go to these 2 schools, at least that we know. Every child must come with their parents, and we must be able to sit down with them. And because we cannot also blame teachers every other time, because when a 15-year-old rape a 7-year-old, it's clear he saw it at home, or he saw it at a friend's place, or they see it as part of the life of the community, like you say, in the social ills. So we want the parents to come and start taking responsibilities to say, this is my child. I'm going from now onwards to help in terms of, it's a question of also discipline. I have 3 boys. I'm a mother myself. I'm not just a deputy minister. My boys knows they are, the last born is finishing at the university, but they know in my house, you come at 6 o'clock. If you have to come after 6 o'clock, you really have to write a thesis of about 10 pages why you must not be punished. This is the rules of my house. And I tell them, I feed you, this is my house. If you don't want to do what I say, you can go and have your house and have your rules. So it's high time the parents must come on board and assist us, because I can tell you in Spedi, we say, to have a 15-year-old raping a 7-year-old, because then it's a problem of the justice department. They must then take over, because as the police, you know, is the children who are, we don't deal with children, they must go to children's court, and then they are also released in their parents' hands to bring them to court when they have to go, but they still go into the same environment. So we want to strongly talk to to the parents to say, these are children. Children still need to be disciplined. Children still need to be taught to be respectful. Children need to be taught that if somebody touch you where you are supposed to not touch, you must be able to report it. I remember when I was MEC for Education and Minister Mutsecha was Minister of Education, trying to bring this issue of sexual education in our school to make it aware to our children what was happening. The whole South Africa swallowed us, because things were changing, and there's also programs on the TV that these children and the games that they can see. So we're trying to say, let's also try to make them aware in terms of what constitutes the gender-based violence. But we are not overwhelmed. As we have seen that we went there, were able to talk to the learners. Learners were telling us that they want social workers to come to their schools because sometimes they want to talk, they can't talk to the teachers, they can't talk to the parents, but if we have social workers from time to time, they will be able to confess to them. Secondly, I was just not even aware. There was a boy child who said they are also raped. And then also because sometimes we look mostly on women and children. So there are boys who are also raped. And because we grow with this thing, if you are a man, you don't cry, you just hold on everything. And you can see the moment you start discussing this issue, because it's a sore point, they just break down. So we also need to protect the boy child. Things have changed, and we need to. They need our protection.
TM, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Deputy Minister of Police, Dr. Boshielo, on the latest Imbizo that they held. Right, the news feed PM continues for you shortly. Stay